Good evening and welcome again to Henry's Blueshouse Blues Talking. Very special guest tonight, a star, a superstar, a man who's comfortable on the charts. Please welcome Des Tong. Des. Before we get on to Sac Cafe and that part of your life, let's start at the beginning. Where were you born, Des?
I was born Woking in Surrey.
Oh, something soft.
Savannah, mate. A bit like you, absolutely. Yes.
I know, I'm going to tell people.
I know, exactly. I know. But yes, I was born in Surrey, but I moved up to Manchester when I was 5, and so they changed my passport, and I became a Mancunian.
Why did your family move to?
My dad's worked. My dad worked for a company called Allied Iron Founders, who made Rayburn cookers.
Yeah.
And I suppose it was one of those offers you can't refuse. So we moved up, and I got terrible stick for a long time about my accent. I mean, I was only young, but even so, I had a Southern accent, and used to give me a hard time.
So, when did you first encounter music? At what age and how?
Well, my dad was a pianist. My dad was a fabulous pianist, and so there was always music in the family. And he loved jazz, Oscar Peterson, Errol Garner, Art Tatum, you know, the greats. So I that was what I listened to, and I suppose I grew up with it. I wanted to be a drummer. Everybody wants to be a drummer, don't they? But he said, no, you'll be a bass player because there'll always be work for a good bass player. And he bought me a battered old double bass that a friend of his owned a carpet factory, and he used to store the underfelt for stair carpets on the neck because it was the perfect size, so we could just unroll it. So, so we did it up.
So what age were you at?
I was 10.
Wow.
So we did it up, and when I was 12, I was actually playing in my dad's trio for things like Masonic dues. We used to do hotels. I mean, my poor fingers, I used to have blisters the whole length of my finger because obviously, you know, they're only soft. But that's how I learned. And Ray Brown was my hero from the Oscar. I actually met Ray Brown at the Free Trade Hall in Manchester when we went to see Oscar Peterson. But when I went to the big school, the grammar school, obviously I was surrounded by kids my age who they were into the Small Faces and the Stones and that. So my horizons were broadened somewhat. But there was one guy who was in my class, a guy called Neil Wellman, and his dad loved the blues. His dad had the massive collection of Chicago blues, Delta blues, you name it, he had it, the rarest ones. And you know, there was a few occasions where I went round and his dad would get the records out and play it. So that was a really early introduction to the blues for me.
Probably a bit young to appreciate what you're listening to.
But awareness, I think, more than anything, because then. I mean, the very, very first band I was in was a little soul band, 4 of us. We were all learning. But then I got offered the opportunity to join the proper band. And these guys, I was about 17 or 18. These guys were 5-10 years older than me. A band called Henderson Chambers, named after the sax player from Count Basie band.
That's a good start.
And the lead singer, a guy called Bo Kelly, there was a Manchester band called Bo Kelly and the Thingamajigs, quite famous, and Harry, Bo, as he was called, was a blues man, played great blues harmonica. So suddenly I'm thrust into this really good band, and I never resist a challenge. So I'm wherever they're going, I'm going, and I'm learning every day. I'm listening, and we became one of the best party bands in Manchester. We could play anything. We could, we'd do jazz, we'd do blues, we'd do rock and roll, we'd do soul, everything. And we were actually really successful playing all these big house parties. There was a guy called Gus Demi in Manchester who was a booking, Demi's Bookies, and we were his favourite band. He used to book us to play in his house. And you get George Best turning up, and you get people like that turning up at Gus Demi's parties where we were playing. And I was like 18, 19.
I think properly playing different forms of music like that is a great grounding for a professional music career.
Yeah.
And so when the shout came along for you to step up, how did that happen?
I suppose it was because your reputation, really. People know that you can do it, and so I went as far as I could with Henderson Chambers, and then it was a case of, did I want to go professional? And actually the first professional thing I did was backing soul singers, soul and R&B singers coming over from America, like Inez and Charlie Fox, Fontella Bass. I played at Rebecca's in town with Fontella Bass.
Were you still Manchester based?
Yes. But now here's a fantastic one. The guy that we worked for was a guy called Roy Tempest, who was renowned for being a bit of a con merchant. He brought over Fontella Bass, who was the original. He brought over Inez and Charlie Fox, who were the originals. But then one day we got asked if we could back I can't think of his name now. Hello. What's the you don't have to be available. Oh, it'll come to me. Anyway, so I went on the road with those soul acts, and from them I met the Chants from Liverpool, and they offered me a job full time. So I was 19, and the first gig I did was a month in Brussels.
It sounds like you never had a proper job yet.
I did. I worked in the bank. I worked in the middle when I left school. I worked in the Midland Bank, but I found that I was actually earning more playing in bands than I was doing in the bank.
So you're a month in Brussels. You're a month in Brussels.
Yes, that was a place called Chez Paul O'Gaiety, which was one of these hostess clubs, I suppose you can say. But there was an 8-piece band who I was conducting. And then from there we came back and we went to Mallorca, and we played at Tito's in Mallorca for a month. And then we came back and we went out to Germany. So the first 3 months of my career with the Chants were literally abroad, just playing all the time.
The Chants are a familiar name.
Yeah, they were one of these. They were on Oh Boy, 6-5 Special. Jack Good was their producer.
Did they record for Pie?
They did. They did. They never quite made it. But strangely, one of them, Eddie Anu, went on to join with his brother in the real thing.
Yeah.
Many years later, I met him. From the Chants, I worked with a lady called Mona Richardson, who was part of the Otisette, Johnny Otis show.
Oh, wow.
And the first gig we did with her was a week at Ronnie Scott's in London, supporting Elvin Jones.
Well, very nice. Very nice.
So,
I'm going to ask you a question.
yeah.
Johnny has had 2 vocal groups at the same time. 3 could really sing, and they were called the 3 Tones of Joy, and the other was called the Otisettes, who couldn't sing a lot, but they danced very nicely. Was she an Otisette, or was she a...
She was an Otisette.
Very good.
She was fantastic, a lovely lady. Ronnie Scott's was amazing. Gladys Knight came up and said, "Hey, I'd love to take you back to the States and play with me." Like they do. And I sort of spent 30 years on the road after that, working with various people.
Are you still playing string bass then?
No,
What caused the changeover? Travel?
just the fact that you just play the legs. It's easier to play, and it was required. I mean, you know, you couldn't play double bass with Arnes and Charlie Fox.
Were you singing at that time?
No, because there wasn't call for it. You know, you were just, I was just a musician. That came later. Quite strange. I worked with a fantastic singer called Jimmy Helms.
Oh wow.
Gonna Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse, and then he's gone on to be in London. We had the most amazing time travelling around. Jimmy was such a great musician, great singer. But all of a sudden, I was asked to get into sessions. I wanted to get off the road. It was becoming just day after day. We used to drive from Manchester to Southend to a club called the 06 for a one-nighter and drive back again.
And
it cost about £3 in petrol.
Of course, the motorways weren't so sophisticated as they are now.
No. So I got into doing sessions. A wonderful man who's sadly no longer with us, a guy called Richie Close, fabulous pianist, was a bit like my mentor really, and he got me involved in sessions in places like Strawberry Studios up in Manchester, and I started getting into doing TV things. So I was working at Granada, I was working at Yorkshire, I did stuff down in Central, and then during that time I met so many great players and singers, and one day Paul Young rang me up. That's Paul Young who was Sa Cafe, and said would I go round to his house and just play on an idea he got, and so I did, and he said, well, could you do that tonight? Because we're in the studio. So I went down that night, played this track. The other guys came in, and I suddenly realised it was Sa Cafe who were doing an album.
Wait, Sa Cafe existed before you joined?
Absolutely, yeah.
What did that mean?
Yeah. So, and their bass player was wanting out. He wanted to get into management. So they said, can you come back tomorrow night and do another one? But at night time, not during the day, when everybody had gone home. Because they didn't really want to announce it. So I went back the next night and did another track. And then the bass player walked in halfway through. But he was cool with it, you know, he said that's fine, I just want to move on. I ended up playing the album and they said, do you want to do the tour? So, yeah, that was a bit of a culture shock, because having played in pubs and clubs and bars, and suddenly I'm at the Apollo in Manchester with 5,000 people, and yeah, that was quite an eye-opener, and that's when I started to learn to sing, because I needed to sing. You know, they needed a voice.
So, were you aware of them before you joined?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I knew all the guys.
Oh.
You know, we worked together in various combinations. I mentioned before, there's a guy in Manchester called Dougie James, and Dougie James and the Soul Train was like the Curtis Little and down here. You know, all the good players played with Dougie, so all the good players played with Curtis. So Paul Young used to come down, Ian Wilson used to come down. So I knew them all. You know, and I suppose it was just a matter of time really before we all linked up together.
You said in Manchester Apollo. What sort of venues did you do outside of the UK? Did you do long tours? Was Sa Cafe internationally successful?
We toured Germany with Nils Lofgren. Before I joined, Sa Cafe toured America. They did 6 months in America. Santana, Toto, and the management, in their ultimate wisdom, brought them back and said, we're going to concentrate on the UK and Europe and not send them back to America. So, there you go.
So tell us about the hits.
The hits, well, Everyday Hurts is the hit. That probably is the biggest encumbrance to the band ever, because it doesn't reflect what the band was. The band was and is a rock and roll band. Everyday Hurts became the anthem of like the girls sitting in their bed sit, and it was impossible to follow, because the follow-up was My Oh My, which was a rock and roll track. But it's amazing that we are still going, and we've still got that following. That it's lovely to see when we play a gig and people all turn up, and it's like meeting old friends.
Do you still do Everyday Hurts?
Of course we do. There's no way we can't do
You can't
that.
turn your back on it.
I mean, so I was saying before, in the middle of my session work, I got into producing. I was asked by two guys in Manchester if I'd like to get into production. So, and they work for the BBC. So I produced Simply Red's first radio session on Radio 1. Worked with some amazing people. And I produced a time warp for Damien for My Sins. I've got a silver disc for that. Sales in excess of 250,000 singles, which is quite good going. And while I was doing that, a very, very old friend of mine, a guitar player called Mel Dean, who he was Tony Christie's MD, who I worked with. And Mel phoned me up and he said, I've got a gig, it's a week. Can you do a week at this pub in Manchester called Napoleon's? Fabulous place. And I couldn't, because I was actually in the middle of producing the Time Warp. And I said, no, I can't. I can only do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No, that'll do. So I'll get the rest of it. So I turned up on the Thursday, and it was Jess Conrad who was on. So I turn up and I'm setting my equipment up, and the first person I see is a woman who thrusts a load of music in my hand and turns around and walks off. She's sitting over there, a lady called Sissy Stone. Now, I didn't know there was anybody else on other than Jess Conrad, so I looked through. Oh, good stuff. We played the show, we became great friends, and I had a track that I wanted a girl singer on. So I said to Sissy at the end of the week, I said, I've got this song, would you be up for doing it? And she said, well, send it me down, see what it was like. She rang me back, said, I want to do it. And that was 1987, 88 or something. We're still mates, we still work together. We've got a fantastic band that we play at the Jam House with. We've now got a little acoustic band, which Bob Wilson, who's upstairs later, myself and Bob and Sam Rogers, the sax player, and Sissy, little 4-piece acoustic band. We're playing Lisa Travers, Prince of Wales, in November. Fantastic thing. So, and then I get into TV.
You sound like you sit there and these things arrive and land in your lap.
Well, no, I just don't like to sit around and do nothing, But I met a couple of people who shall remain nameless, but they had this great idea about doing a local TV channel for Birmingham, which everybody said was a fantastic idea. Unfortunately, they were not the people to do it. So it went round in circles for quite a long time, got a bad reputation. But eventually, two guys, Mike Prince and another guy, set up Big Centre TV. And I went in as a producer.
This was in Warsaw?
This was in Warsaw. I went in as a producer. And within 2 days I was editing. And within a week I was presenting. Now Mike Prince set up this idea, this Life Stories show. And he had a guy called Blyden Dave Healy.
Yes.
He's a marathon runner, and he had a 92-year-old wing walker, and he had a Holocaust survivor. Fantastic. But somebody said, Mike, can we not have a bit of like liveliness on it? So I said to him, I know just the person you should have on. Jim Simpson.
Ah,
So he said, fantastic, fantastic. So we booked Jim, and on the day, Mike comes into me and he's panicking and he said, Des, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I said, why not? He says, because I don't know him. But you do. You do it. So I had to go down to Marks and Spencer's and buy a shirt because I've got a t-shirt on. I had to go and a razor and have a shave. Jim comes in. He's my very first programme on Life Stories.
I didn't know that.
And we enjoyed it, didn't we? It was like a chat.
Yeah, great.
And afterwards they all said, oh, you've got to do that again. So 20 shows later, it was fabulous. I met some wonderful, wonderful people. And it was just a fantastic experience. Like I said, I don't resist the challenge. Every day was a challenge.
Live bands on as well.
I deliberately set up the fact that there was no live music at all. So I actually went out and bought a mixing desk and said, one of the programmes that I was producing, I want live music on this programme. So, okay, we couldn't have bands on, but I got singer-songwriters or duos in, and I introduced live music to the show. The reputation was great because nobody else does it.
I remember you did Whiskey Brothers, who played here.
The Whiskey Brothers, yeah.
That was a good show.
Yeah, and
So is this stuff still available?
it's online. It is online if you search for it. It usually comes up as, I think it's made in Birmingham now. But I mean, I interviewed Bev, which is where the idea for the Streets of Birmingham came from. I mean, that's had 75,000 views on YouTube, which surprised Bev actually, like me. But it was fantastic. I met so many great people. I mean, Russ Ballard came up. Now, Russ is an amazing writer, but such a humble man, and he was lovely to talk to. Turns out we got so many links back to people that it was easy to talk about things. Colin Blunston, from the Zombies. I said to him, where did the voice come from? Because I mean, everybody else was singing rock and roll. You come out singing like a choir boy. It just happened. Just happened.
Des is open for questions, apart from what caused the demise of a certain team.
Go on, fire away.
Sissy, there must be something you want to know about it.
No. What are you doing about publicity for Birmingham now?
Yes, good question. Well, we're actually filming the promo tomorrow at the Jam House. Now, it's going to go online. So, obviously, I'll be sharing it. So, if you look on my Facebook, which is Des Tong, I'll be sharing the promo. And we'll also, I'm leaving a lot of that to the people I'm working with who are going to do it.
But you don't want to leave it really, you want to do it yourself.
I will do. I will be pushing it, as much as possible. And we'll share it with like the Henry's Blueshouse and that. So we'll get it around.
No, I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Gary and I have a laugh. We don't take many things seriously, although shooting from the hip might be interesting. I think we're leaving ourselves open for that one, but yeah.
Nothing worse than people not finding out until afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of time because the first one is not going to be until last week of November. So.
That may seem like a long time.
Yeah. I'm writing it already.
Is there anybody else?
Were you part of the band when Everyday Hurts came about? Obviously the band were going before you.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I joined about a year later.
Right.
It was one of those things that, they all couldn't believe how that one was successful because it wasn't the one that they all chose. Then they decided they wanted to change the direction, and they wanted it more rocky, funky,
Yeah.
and that's why they asked me to join,
Okay.
which came as a surprise really, because, like I said before, I knew them all, but I was making a really good living as a session player, and so it was a bit of a thought. What did I want to do it? Because obviously I had to give up a lot of session work to go on tour with them. But it's an amazing band. The band that we've got now, there's 3 of us in it, and we've added some great players. And it's just such a wonderful thing to, that we played 3 nights in Manchester, and I mean it literally sold out. We didn't advertise it, we only did it on our Facebook page, and we had, the first day when we said about it, we had something like 1,200 hits, and the tickets went straight away. And then when you walk in, you walk out on the stage, you know everybody. It's fabulous.
Will you do a new version of this for this? Because
We
it's
are
coming up to
thinking
that
about-
anniversary of
Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary this year.
Is it great?
40 years. We're talking about doing an acoustic version,
Okay.
because we've been asked to do the, next year we're doing the UK Acoustic Festival in New Toxteth. In fact, Roy, the drummer,
Yes.
he's doing with Climax,
Yes.
and we're doing the same night.
Okay.
We're doing the same
Yeah,
night.
all right.
So we're thinking, we actually did one acoustic at Lee Benson's Art Gallery,
Okay.
number 9 in Brindley Place, and it was so much fun that we're debating on whether we might want to do some more.
Sure.
It makes you think. It gets the brain cells going. To be able to come up with a slightly different angle on something
So it's, yeah.
that people aren't prepared for. Just give them something to think about. I love doing that. Sissy hates me because I'm always doing that with her. So we should try this. And, oh my God, go around again. But it just keeps you on your toes.
Yes.
Come and see us. We're at the Prince of Wales on the 17th.
Lisa, yeah.
Sunday the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's on the 17th? Who's on the 17th?
That's Sissy and Sissy.
Yeah.
You said earlier, yeah.
We're doing the acoustic
Yeah.
That's
version of
that's
our.
acoustic.
Yeah.
And we also did another fabulous venue, Tower of Song, which is over in Cottridge.
Amazing place. That.
Yeah, fabulous. It's like an American roadhouse.
Yeah.
It's just got such a great vibe.
Yeah.
And we're playing that again. So, and then Sac Cafe, we're doing the Sutton Town Hall, 31st of January.
Oh, have you? Okay.
So I don't like to sit around doing nothing. I like to keep busy.
Yeah.
Come on, you must have somebody. What do you want to know?
Paul Young, you mentioned.
Yeah,
He went to join Paul Carrick. He did.
that's right, Mike
Yeah.
the Mechanics.
Yeah, Mike and the Mechanic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paul died in 2000,
Yes, I know so.
which was a shock to everyone really, because he was one of these larger than life characters.
Yeah.
He was a hypochondriac, I have to say, but nobody anticipated that happening.
No.
It was a bolt out of the blue.
Yes.
And he'd just done, or he was in the process of recording a solo album. And a friend of mine who was a producer who'd been working with him, eventually got in touch with his wife, and she gave him all the tapes that they'd been recording. And he took it over to a studio in Gothenburg in Sweden, and they stripped off all the music and kept Paul's voice, and myself, the drummer, Paul Carrot, Mike Rutherford, myself and the drummer went over to Sweden and re-recorded all the tracks, and it came out as Paul Young's Chronicles. And it's a lovely album. It was very strange sitting in a studio playing and hearing Paul's voice come through and thinking, how have they done that? Because they'd actually some of them had taken the little snippets he'd sung and made verses up. and then got a chorus out of a few things and done it like that. And then one of the guys had like ghosted a few notes for him, and they made it. It's a fabulous album. It really is a fabulous album.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. One more time. Des Tong.